Hello, everybody. What's going on? Tobin here with you. Thank you all for checking us out here. Last night, your Miami Heat, they lost to the Philadelphia 76ers. It got away from them late. Another one of those games where things were kind of struggling, getting bogged down, and they lose 113 to 106. Tyrese Maxey, he was the star of yesterday's game for the 76ers. He had 28 points. He looked absolutely fantastic. Hit some big onions buckets, and had the whole crowd chanting his name, had a sick block on Caleb Martin late. So the Heat, they lose a little bit of ground on everybody. I think everybody else was either win or idle yesterday in the East. That was kind of right behind them. But the big story out of this game, honestly, was that Joel Embiid and James Harden didn't play. Gutless. Like, it was ducking season for the Philadelphia 76ers, which is why I refuse to get upset or get crazy about this game. Like, I'm not going to sit here and acknowledge, worry for the 76ers because of a game where Shake Milton is going off in the fourth quarter. All respect, but, I got a feeling like in these playoff series, Kork Maz isn't going to be going off like that. Just call me crazy, call it a hunch. And, yeah, I do think that there's a little bit of a letdown factor. People don't even like to mention this in sports, that there's a play down to competition and do things professionally and all that type of stuff. But, you already were hoping you were going to get this matchup once back in Miami. And for whatever reason, James Harden decides he's not going to play. Everybody's been kissing this little duo's ass of Joel Embiid and James Harden left and right. They're the toast of the East. They're the thing to look out for, all that type of stuff. And they've done nonstop fawning over it. And they've had a couple of performances where they had this opportunity to play the Heat. James Harden sat in Miami. Then they had an opportunity to play the Brooklyn Nets. He pooped the bed. James Harden pooped the bed. They got smoked. Now you have another matchup against the top team in the East. And where are you at? They decide to sit both of them? What are you doing in that spot? As an NBA society, right? What are we doing where the two top guys on one of the better teams in the conference are feeling themselves, and the number one team in the East rolls into town, and you don't want to make a statement, And I don't want to hear that, they did make the statement, they won. No, they didn't. Because nothing that mattered yesterday from the Sixers side is going to matter in the playoffs. It doesn't. That's just the facts of it. You can sit here and be proud of Tyrese Maxey if you're a Sixers fan. That's certainly fine. But the idea that those two guys didn't have the guts to step on the court and that they'd rather sit out because of their hamstring or their rest. There's 10 games left. Rest. How much more rest could you possibly need? How many more times do you need to sit out that hamstring? The thing that pisses me off the most about it is that Jimmy Butler flew up there and could have just stayed on this one-day trip, could have just stayed back home, rested the ankle a little bit more, but did so under the faith that, okay, we're going to have a top-notch matchup here. One of the best teams in the East against one of the best teams in the East. Let's fight it out. And instead, what you got was one of the best teams in the East is we're taking on, Maxey and the bench. It's how do you not have a how do you not have a letdown in that situation? And it's not even just okay, people will come at me and they'll say, oh, well, you guys are sitting here snorting culture all over the place because the Heat are getting all these shorthanded wins. It's yeah, but those were injuries, legitimate injuries. And they're not just sitting dudes left and right just because, we need a maintenance day. Or they didn't stack up guys okay, so let me get this straight. Just happens to be that you're going to take the rest against the Miami Heat. That's where it's going to be. So you guys don't want to acknowledge the game that it matters. You'd rather just bow it out. And so I'm not going to give you credit for a win that's against some gimmick team that we're not going to see in the playoffs. That seems ridiculous to me to get over dramatic about a loss like that. Other issues that have been some issues, people are worried about, Tyler Hero getting picked apart at the end of games. Look, Tyler Hero can get picked on defense. It's going to be a thing. He's not going to not play. It's not like other teams don't have players who get picked on from time to time on defense. I think the Heat were a little bit lax on defense yesterday. It didn't feel like they were dialed in all the way. And, I think that Shake Milton and Tyrese Maxey took advantage of it. Good for, bully for them. Fair play to you, as they say overseas. But to me, I just feel like the game just loses its luster as soon as you get the news that their stars are going to sit out. Like, how do you get up for the same kind of matchup when they don't play? It seems dumb to me. And you could have sat, if you had a second night of a back-to-back, Tobin. All right. Well, guess what, dude? How about you sit out the Raptors game then? All right? Because you already bowed out of the Heat game once. When are you going to have the gumption to go in there and step up against the Heat? That's what I want to know. So I'm not going to get crazy for it. I'm not going to give anybody in Philadelphia the satisfaction of that win. I had one of my MMA show producer. He's a Philly guy. How about them Sixers? I'm like, dude, that's not a true game, dude. Who cares? Like, I just put I'll tell you one thing. If last night we had a night where Joel Embiid and James Harden smoked the Heat, I'd be like, whew. Got some soul searching to do. All right. Maybe they're onto something. Maybe the Heat do have to be worried about it, you know? But I'm going to do this because of the bench. And I was so happy. I heard, what was the quote for today from Tim Legler? I was so, because, you know, a lot of times I have these quotes. My co-host, Leroy Horde, he's like, you're nuts. You're doing the Homer thing. Fine. Maybe I am. But Tim Legler, no ties to the Heat. He said this. It's disgusting to me that Harden sat twice against the Heat. It shows a total lack of respect for the league and the fans. I'm glad that he said it because it's true. We only get so many of these games during the regular season that matter, right? And this was supposed to be one of them. This is in your building. You know, it's not even like you're on the. See, this is the thing. You're not even. It's not even like you're on the road and you're doing this, even though you've already done it once. You're doing it at home, in front of their fans who want to see this big show, who have their number one draft pick, Ben Simmons, doesn't play for them anymore and is shipped off, you know, and so you got this new toy. You're not going to show it off to the fans in front of the number one team in the East. You know, and so good. Look, go out there and you know, be proud of your little culture win that you were able to do it. You know, Heat have been there before where they've gotten wins and have beaten the big bully team, and that's fine. That's cool. Good for you. But you know, this isn't January. This isn't December. This is 10 games left in the regular season. Let's do a little temperature check of everybody. And they decided not to. They decided, we'll step back, you know. And so, I'm unbothered by the loss yesterday. It doesn't get to me at all, one iota. You know, people going crazy. Oh, Tyler Hero was Brick City. He's been on an incredible torrid pace. Max Strus, Duncan Robinson can hit the broadside of a barn. You know, got faith those guys are going to turn around. Couple of interesting things, like PJ Tucker continues in his shooting slump. That's definitely been a thing. Markieff Morris, he has essentially grabbed the backup 5 spot from Bam Adebayo, which is kind of interesting because he's, you know, Victor Oladipo didn't play yesterday. He's dealing with the back spasms. And Markieff Morris has come back in 3 games, and all of a sudden he's like right back into the fold as back of big. So they're kind of gone rats off a ship on Dwayne Dedmon. But I honestly thought they would give Big Yurt the shot. I guess this is just a case if you're going to go with experience. But the one thing I like about Big Yurt, and this was a big thing in yesterday's game, was the rebounding. He's got that Whiteside ability, like he could roll out of bed and get you 12 rebounds, like not even trying. So that's definitely a magnetic thing about him. He's big. He's got some offensive skill around the rim. You know, I am interested to see if there's any way left with this closing time. It seems like no. Could he crack his way in unless Markieff Morris, you know, really poops the bed as well? Then they go to Yurtseven or they go back to the dead man. Tough to see. Both Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler saying something to the effect after the game of like, we are at the top of the East. Jimmy said, we are at the top of the East, but we have some kinks to still work out. And Kyle Lowry basically saying that, you know, we probably should be further along with our communication. The only thing I'd say to both of those guys on that is like, this isn't like a knock on either one of them, but it's just like, well, that's kind of on where you guys have been. Like Kyle Lowry has been away for personal reasons for things. Jimmy Butler has been dealing with a lot of nagging injuries. Like you saw today, some of the best chemistry was on Bam and Tyler. They've gotten so good on that Wildcat connection. Those guys have really grown and flourished together with all the time that they've spent and had to spend together. And then you kind of bring in Jimmy and Kyle Lowry, and a lot of the times it's just like, all right, well, Jimmy had a good game yesterday, and Kyle had a good game. It was a rare game where you had Jimmy, Bam, Kyle all really have good offensive games. The defense was just piss poor yesterday. So, it could be the communication on that side that they're talking about, but I just think that you talk about this communication, you're supposed to be it's kind of tough to say, our communication should be at a further spot. Like, these guys really haven't played that many minutes together. They really, really haven't. So I'm not surprised the chemistry isn't as sharp as it should be or would be for other teams. But I got faith they can put it together because they're both smart players. They're both they both play their ass off, and Kyle is staying true to his word that you are starting to see him ramp it up a little bit, know when he has a rhythm going, looking for his own shot, and I think that's helpful and really, really good. But dude, Philadelphia kicked the sharpest of rocks. If you think I'm going to give you any credit for yesterday's win, you gotta, you don't walk into a main event and then all of a sudden tell everybody it's a sparring match. You're just not going to have the same intensity. I'm not going to get crazy about it. Not a true loss. Kick rocks, dude.